So anybody, when they say Indic culture, they basically mean the Hindu Dharma. And when it is Hindu, it includes all the Dharma within it. Ahilyabai becoming the queen of Malwa is not an exception. It is a tradition of India. If we look at the Indian history, we find lots of women who have ruled their kingdoms. Woman in a leadership role has is very natural in India. So Ahilyabai becoming the queen is not an exception. It is a tradition. So what Ahilyabai does is temples were destroyed, she rebuilds the temples. Universities were burned down, she rebuilds the educational institutes. So right from Kabul to Puri, from Kedarnath to Rameshwaram, Gujarat, say Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, everywhere we find her footprint. In Maharashtra, the document for the land is called as Satbara. It comes from Ahilyabai's work. Ahilyabai is an extension of Ram. She is an extension of Yudhishthir. And in a way, she takes forward the work of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Ahilyabai was shaped by her reading of epics and Puran, Itihas and Puran. So one thing that we can take from her is reading Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavad Puran in the original. So here we have a queen who is building, great, magnificent temples. Here is a queen who is building a textile industry, but she herself lives in a very simple house and she clads herself in a very simple white sari. Brief background about the work of Ahilyabai Holkar. What was the situation before Ahilyabai came to power, and what are the things that she did in her times? So we really begin at the very beginning. So we are looking at India and the timeline of the Indic culture. So it starts 5 lakh BC. So it is like BC. I should rather say it's 5 lakh years ago, or 500,000 years ago, when we find human settlements in and around Narmada, and then there are many Paleolithic cultures, there are Chalcolithic cultures within India everywhere. One of the main one of the human settlements is the Bhimbetka caves, and these have human settlements from 80,000 years ago, and they have paintings since 10,000 years ago, and the people continued to live in these caves until the 13th century. So for a very long time we find peoples living in the Bhimbetka caves, which is on the banks of river Narmada. And then as we go into the antiquity of Indian civilization, we find that the Vedic age, it starts even before 34,000 BC. There are so many memories which go beyond 34,000 BC, and they are included in the Vedic literature. They are included in the Puranic folklore. So we find all those memories over there. And then we have Nilesh Oakji dating Ramayana to 12,000 BC and Mahabharata to 5,000 BC. And at the same time, we also have archaeologically attested civilizations in India, which is the Saraswati and Sindhu civilization. So this is the uh, timeline of India, which goes back to so many thousands of years ago. And then from around the times of Mahabharata, when we come to the 4th century, we find many dynasties that have ruled India. So we have the Nanda dynasty, the Mauryas, and then the Satvahan, the Gupta, and then in the south we also have Pandya and Chol, Pallav, all of them up to the 4th century. Going ahead, we have the later dynasties, like we have Samrat Harshavardhan, 10th century, 6th or 7th century actually. And then we have the Gurjara and Pratihara kings, then the Rashtrakoot. All of them, they are in the northern and central India. And after them, we come to the 10th century, and one of the very famous kings of this times is Raja Bhoj. So Raja Bhoj is about 1,000 years ago, and he comes from the Parmar dynasty. So what we see throughout this time is that we have a history, and we have a continuous civilization, we have a continuous culture. So this culture, it represents itself in, like, through mathematics, through astronomy. So what I have presented over here, this is the political timeline. But if we take a look at India's timeline of mathematics, we will see that it goes back to the Vedic age. And right from the Vedic age, with lagad lagad as jyotish, and with geometry, Shulbha Sutra, we have so many books on language and grammar. All of it begins with the Vedic times, and we see them going through all of these times. It's continuous. So all of this together, which is like, the knowledge on metallurgy, the knowledge on architecture, the dance and music and drama, all the different types of arts and sciences and all, this is the culture. This is the culture of India, which is a very continuous thing. Now, when in this continuity, what we see is a blip, and this blip occurs after 12th century. So let us see what that blip is. But before that, what is Indian culture? We are look. All I'm saying about is, like, this is the Indian culture, where we have architecture, we have books on architecture, we have books on mathematics and geometry, and all of this. This we call it as the Indic culture. But culture is nothing other than way of living, which is dharma. And Indic, this word, it comes from the river Sindhu, which was called by the Greeks as Indus, and based on it, we were called Hindu. So Indic culture is nothing other than Hindu dharma. So a secular word for dharma is Indic culture. They are one and the same. So anybody, when they say Indic culture, they basically mean the Hindu dharma. And when it is Hindu, it includes all the dharma within it, all the sects, all the pantha within it. So it includes Jain, Sikh, Buddha, the Vanvasis. It includes the Vaishnav, the Ganapatya, the Lingayat, the Arya Samaji. All of them together, they form the Hindu. So when we are speaking about Indic culture, we are basically speaking about all these different dharma. Yeah? So now this dharma, we see that it is continuous until the 12th century. What happens at this time? So 7th century, we see the rise of Islam in Arabia. And as Islam rises, it starts to spread. It starts to spread to the north of Arabia, to east of Arabia, and even to the west of Arabia. So the first civilization to fall is Persia, which is today's Iraq and Iran. So we see that fall in the 7th century. Further into 8th century, India sees the first attacks. So these first attacks are borne by Sindh. And after that, in the 9th century, the kingdom of Zabul, that falls. So kingdom of Zabul, it is south of Kabul, and it is today in Afghanistan. So this is what happens in the 9th century. Later, by early 11th century, the Kabul kingdom falls. So the kings of Kabul, they were called as the Kabul Shahi. So, or they were also called as the Hindu Shahi because they were Hindu kings. So that falls to Islamic attacks in the 11th century. 12th century, Delhi falls. So this is 1192 when Prithviraj Chauhan is defeated by Muhammad Ghori. By 13th century, another 100 years, and then it is Devgiri, which is the kingdom of Maharashtra, that falls to Alauddin Khilji. Further down, 14th century, the kingdom of Andhra, that falls. And but in the meantime, we also see the kingdom of Vijayanagar in the 14th, 15th, and 16th century. So about 200 years, there is the kingdom of Vijayanagar in the south, which is centered around Hampi, Vijayanagar, Mysore, and all that area. So that is the kingdom of Vijayanagar. But then after the fall of Vijayanagar, we see the rise of Mughals by 16th century. So this is the picture of the attacks on India. So from the 8th century to the 16th or 17th century, continuously India is under attack. And what is happening during this time? We are seeing that millions are massacred. Millions of Hindus, they are massacred. Many are sold in the Middle East and Central Asia as slaves. So the people have written that, when the Hindus, they are being sold as slaves, so many of them, they are being sold that uh, the prices of slaves, it falls down to the lowest price. So Middle East and Central Asia, we have Indians being sold over there as slaves. And then many are converted to Islam. So today's Muslims that we see in India, they are basically Hindus who have converted sometime. Next thing that happens is the Farsi language is made the official language of India. So people over here, they are speaking so many different languages in different areas, but uh, the rulers, by now we see that there are, like, there is the Delhi Sultanate, there are Lodhis and other people who are rulers, and their language, especially the Mughals, their language is Farsi. So they make Farsi the official language of India. So all the coins we see Farsi language, all the documents, they are in Farsi language. This is what is happening. Hindus, or basically the non-Muslims, they have to pay jizya tax. And then they also have to pay a pilgrimage tax. So if anybody wants to go for a pilgrimage to maybe Kashi or Mathura or Vrindavan, they have to pay a pilgrimage tax as well. During this time, especially from the 11th century onwards, tens and thousands of temples, they are looted and destroyed. So uh, there are various estimates. So there are estimates like, about 20,000 to 40,000 temples, they are looted and destroyed during this time. And the universities, which had been very popular in India, and people came from very far to learn in these universities. These universities, like, there was one university in Takshashila, but it fell down much before the Islamic onslaught. The Nalanda University or the Vikramshila University. These universities, they were burned down. And basically, they also had their libraries and all, which were burned down. So this is what is happening in between 9th and 16th century. So now what happens after this is in 17th century, we have Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, who establishes Hindavi Swaraj. So he comes up with this concept that we should have our own rule. Swaraj, rule of the people, by the people, for the people. That is Hindavi Swaraj. So he establishes Hindavi Swaraj. He establishes the Maratha kingdom. And then in the 18th century, we have his prime minister, Bajirao Peshwa, prime minister of the Chhatrapatis. So it is Bajirao Peshwa who expands this Maratha kingdom into an empire. And he does that with the help of his two generals, that is Malharrao Holkar and Mahaji Shinde. With the help of these two generals, he expands the Maratha kingdom into an empire, and then that empire is right from Peshawar in the north to Tanjavur in the south. And after Bajirao Peshwa, we see that Ahilyabai Holkar comes to the scene. So it is in the 18th century, middle of the 18th century, that Ahilyabai Holkar starts to rule in Malwa. And we are really interested in her rule, and during that time, what are the things that she has done. But before we get into it, here is how the Maratha kingdom has expanded. So in 1707, this is the Mughal Empire, which expands from Kabul right to the south of India. And within 50 years, this is how the picture has changed. And we have the Maratha kingdom, which goes right from, uh, it goes beyond Lahore, it goes beyond Peshawar. So, right from Peshawar to South Tanjavur, Gujarat, from Gujarat to Bengal. All of this is the Maratha Empire. And at the heart of this Maratha Empire, or you can even say at the heart of India, is the Malwa region. So, at central, I wonder if you can see the cursor. So,
Mm,
okay,
yeah, I
here.
mean, we can say it, I think, is it safe to say it is right now it's Madhya
Right
Pradesh
now, it's
region
Madhya
or
Pradesh region.
something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. It is that central part, Ujjain. So Ujjain is since very ancient times, Ujjain has been the center of India. So that it is through Ujjain that our prime meridian runs, and Ujjain is also located on the Karakavrutta, or the Tropic of Capricorn. So it is said to be the navel of the earth, and Ahilyabai's kingdom is centered around Ujjain. So we have Ahilyabai. She is born in 1725, exactly 300 years ago, on 31st May. And at the very young age of 8, she got married to Khanderao Holkar. So Ahilyabai, she is born in a Dhangar family, and she is 8 years old, and she is a very devoted person right from the beginning. Her mother is a devotee of Shiva, and Ahilyabai also, from a very young age, she is a devotee of Shiva. So every day she goes to the temple to do the arti of Shiva. So one day it so happened that Malharrao Holkar, who is the general of Bajirao, so Malharrao Holkar, he is on his way to Pune, and from Indore to Pune. So while he is going to Pune, or while he is coming to Pune, I should say, he takes a halt at a small village called Zondi. And Zondi is the place where Ahilyabai lives. So when he is camped over there, he goes to the Shiva temple in the evening, and there he sees this little 8-year-old girl who is performing the arati of Shivji. And he looks at her and sees that she is not only a devoted person, a devoted little girl, but she also has some extraordinary confidence in her. And then he thinks that she is the uh, uh, right life partner for his son, Khandera. So Malharrao proposes this wedding to Ahilyabai's father, and 12-year-old Khanderao and 8-year-old Ahilyabai, they get married, and their wedding takes place in Pune, and it takes place near Shanivarwada, and we have Peshwa Bajirao attending this wedding and giving gifts to Ahilyabai as well. So after Ahilyabai gets married, she goes to Malwa. So she crosses the Narmada River, and she is now in Malwa. Indore is the capital of Malwa. Malhara Holkar has built a palace over there, the Holkar Palace, and she starts living over there. Soon, in 1745, a son is born to her, Malerao, and 3 years later, a daughter is born, Muktabai. So she has these two children, and once she goes to Marwa, what Ahilyabai does is she starts learning about Malwa. She starts learning the history about Malwa. She is also, every day she is listening to Puranas. She is listening to Sthan Mahatmyas. She is listening to Ved and Upanishads and Itihas Purana. All of this she is listening to it, which helps her to understand what is the Rajadharma and how a king should rule. So all these sanskar, they are happening on Ahilyabai as she is getting into that Holkar, what do you say, the role of a queen. It's making of the queen that is happening. Along with this, what is also happening is she is getting training from Malhar Rao Holkar. So She is being trained for horse riding, for the sword play, for sitting on an elephant and fighting with spears. She is getting training for, like, how to take care of accounts and everything, how to do nyayadan, how to give justice. She is learning all of these things. So all these things are happening simultaneously. Malhar Rao Holkar, her father-in-law, and her husband Khanderao, they are, most of the times they are on the battlefield. So managing the office, this work is done by Ahilyabai. So she starts doing this from a very young age, and
So one
she
question,
is
if I
also
may.
she,
So the formal education sort of a mentor role in her life. Uh, can you attribute someone within the Malhar Rao family who might have done this?
yes, yes. So there are three gurus of Ahilyabai. Her first guru is Malhar Rao Holkar, who is her political guru, and he is also teaching her how to take the administration part, and he is also teaching her all the things on the battlefield. So how to, like, set up a factory for ammunition, artillery factory, and all these things she is learning from Malhar Rao Holkar. So he is the first guru. The second guru of Ahilyabai is her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law is Gautama Bai Holkar, and Gautama Bai Holkar has a private purse assigned to her. So the income of some villages, it comes to Gautama Bai Holkar as a private income, and she is maintaining that income, and she is spending out of it. So Ahilyabai learns how to use it and how to take care of that income from Gautama Bai. So some of all the work that Ahilyabai has done, all the philanthropic work that Ahilyabai has done, she has done it through her private income. So this is the teaching that she learned from Gautama Bai. And her third guru is Ambadas Puranik. So Ambadas Puranik is not only a storyteller, but he is also her Diksha Guru, who has given her the Diksha of Namasmaran also. And daily he reads out to her from the Ramayana, from Mahabharat, from Puranas. So he's reading out to her extracts from all of these books. So these are the three gurus of Ahilyabai, and it is from this that she learns everything, not only about, like, dharma, artha, kam, and moksha, the four purushartha, or the four goals of the human life, but she also learns the life of a king. What are the duties that are expected out of her, and how she should fulfill all those duties. So she learns all of this from these, mainly from these three people. And this is happening since she got married until the death of Mallar Rao. So almost for 30 years, she is getting this on the job training. So, but one thing which happens, one calamity that strikes the Holkar family is in 1754 when Khande Rao dies. So Khande Rao is in the battlefield on an expedition, and he gets hit and he dies in that battle. So at that time, Ahilyabai decides to perform sati, but her father-in-law Malhar Rao Holkar, he pleads to her saying that don't do that, don't end your life. You need to be here and you need to take care of Malwa. So Ahilyabai takes that decision of, like, a duty first, and she decides to uh, take care of Malwa. And then from then onwards she is doing quite a lot of work. She is writing her own letters, and all these things start happening. So after the death of Malhar Rao Holkar in 1766, her son Male Rao, he becomes the Subedar of Malwa, but he is short lived. Within a year he dies, and after his death it is Ahilyabai Holkar who starts looking after Malwa. She is the de facto ruler of Malwa. Even if the Subedar is Tukojirao Holkar, who is the adopted son of Malharao, but the real work is being done by Ahilyabai Holkar. So she rules for almost 30 years from 1767 to 1795. And this is the time that we will focus upon during this presentation. Any question, Yadnesh ji?
So one thing I would like to get your insight on is that this was the 18th century, right? And she was unique in the sense that she is a woman in power. And the way you are describing, it seems that her mentor, Malhar Rao, identified her quality way in advance and tried to uh, kind of train her in that direction to take the reign of
Right.
the kingdom. Was it the similar situation in other kingdom or in various part of the world where how the woman in the various part of world, including India, right, Bharat, how was the situation at that point, and was it the unique event where she was being a de facto queen who is going to rule the uh, independent kingdom?
Oh, very, very good question, Yatnesh ji. Thank you for asking this. Ahilyabai becoming the queen of Malwa is not an exception. It is a tradition of India. If we look at the Indian history, we find lots of women who have ruled their kingdoms. So, there is Queen Naganika who ruled, and she also issued coins, and she is a ruler from 2000 years ago. Then we have a Queen Prabhavati Gupta who ruled for 30 years, Central India, 4th century. Then we have Queen Rudramma, and her father, he thought that she should become the queen after him. So this is, it is not that she becomes the queen uh, because there is nobody else, but in spite of having brothers, she is made the queen. So we have Queen Rudramma, a very brave queens. Then we have Queen Abbaka, we have Queen Chennamma, we have Queen Dida. So many of them. Amongst the Marathas themselves, just before Ahilyabai, we have uh, Queen Tarabai. So Tarabai is the wife of Chhatrapati Rajaram, and she led the Marathas for 7 years in battle against Aurangzeb. That is the kind of queens that India has had. When I say India, these are the Hindu queens. So these are the Hindu queens we have had. And it is not just like, this is in the royal families that the women are treated like this. We find so many Shethanis. So if we look in Gujarat, we will find there are Shethanis who are doing the kind of work Ahilyabai did in Malwa. They have done it in their smaller Jahagirs. Then we also find queen like Queen Rashmani or Queen Bhavani, who are Zamindarin, and they are from Bengal. They are doing work very similar to Ahilyabai. Then even in South, we have queens like Ahilyabai Holkar. And the thing is, the most important thing over here is their fathers, their father-in-laws, their peers, their sons, their noblemen, all of them supported the queen. The praja as well, the subjects also. They supported the queen. Nobody is like, we don't want to have a woman as a leader. Nobody says that. A woman in a leadership role has is very natural in India. So even if we look at the Vijayanagar kingdom, this is 15th century, just a little before Ahilyabai Holkar, we find that women are doing so many different things. They are appointed as judges. They are, they are appointed as bodyguards as well. So they are doing so many things. So they are in the field as warriors. They are in the office as administrators, and they are also giving out justice as judges. So this is the picture of India. This is the picture of India where women receive education, where women receive not only what do you say, theoretical education, but they also get a physical education as well. Like they learn horse riding, they learn, like, to sit on the elephant and go out on a war. So all of these things are happening in India. So Ahilyabai becoming the queen is not an exception. It is a tradition.
Abs- Absolutely. All right. So I think the one thing, and then you can move on to describe her role and stuff. I think the way that you're describing, one thing separate Ahilyabai is that she didn't just look after her own kingdom, right? She looked after, you can say, civilization, right? So that
Absolutely.
is the right stage where you can move on and describe how
Yes,
she has done it. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. See, the thing is, we are always told that India was divided into separate kingdoms. And only when the British came, they created India as a country or India as a nation. But actually, uh, people have always recognized India, or they have recognized Bharat as the land from Himalayas to the sea. So whether it is different kings in different areas of India, or whether they are different saints in different areas of India, or whether they are different people, devotees and common people, they always recognized India as the land from Himalayas to the sea. So the whole land is considered as, like, it's our motherland. So the whole land is considered as motherland. And we see other kings and queens also working like that. For example, Ahilyabai's contemporary is Savai Jai Singh. So Savai Jai Singh, he builds these Jantar Mantar. So he is building these observatories. So he doesn't build that observatory just in his kingdom, but he builds it across 5 cities in India. Or like, we have seen earlier that the Islamic sultans, they had levied a jizya tax on the Hindus. So this king Jai Singh, who is from Rajasthan, Jaipur, he works with the later Mughal kings and Mughal emperors, telling them that you should abolish this tax. So he is working for the people all across India. It is not only for the people in his kingdom. So the same thing we see when Ahilyabai is doing her work. She doesn't have that, narrow vision that Malwa is my kingdom. At heart, she is the kingdom. She is the queen of the whole of India. So we will move ahead.
Yes. Go on.
So we have seen what has happened before Ahilyabai came to power. So almost for 500 years, what is happening in India is all of these things: massacres, enslavement, convergence, temple destruction, universities being destroyed. All these things are happening for almost 500 years. You can imagine what is happening to the people of India and to their self respect, to their own self identity. How they must be, like, this. That is why, like, I say it's a wounded civilization. So what Ahilyabai does when she comes to power is she undoes all these things, right? So this is Swaraj. This is the the rule of the people, by the people, and for the people. So what Ahilyabai does is, temples were destroyed, she rebuilds the temples. Universities were burned down, she rebuilds the educational institutes. So she builds Sanskrit Pathashalas. Sanskrit Pathshala is not a school that teaches Sanskrit, but just like we have English medium schools and Marathi medium schools, she builds a Sanskrit medium school. So where mathematics, astronomy, architecture, and all these things are taught in Sanskrit. So she is rebuilding educational institutes. So many schools, so many pathshalas she builds, not only in Malwa, across India. Then temple towns have been destroyed. she develops the pilgrimage centers. There is pilgrimage tax. What she does is she develops the pilgrimage centers in such a way that it is easy for people to go over there. So she builds roads and bridges and ghat. So ghats she is building on various rivers so that one can cross the river over there. Boats can be parked at a ghat and people can get in the boat and go to the other bank of the river. So she is joining. These are her infrastructure projects. She is joining. She is connecting India. She builds wells and lakes, and she builds dharmashalas and annachatra. So dharmashalas are rest houses, and annachatra are like food distribution centers. So she is looking after the food security also. Then what is happening in the Islamic rule is the official language is Farsi, but the people speak Marathi, people speak Khadi Boli. So what Ahilyabai does is in the Malwa, they used to speak Khadi Boli, Hindi. So the official language in her state is Hindi, not Marathi. I have written that by mistake. It is Khadi Boli. So it
Yeah,
is the language of the people. Yeah.
yes.
So it is the language of the people. So when people approach her or when people go to the offices, they talk in their own language. They don't have to learn another language and then talk to for justice and all. People were denied justice. She sets up a fair justice system. There is a breakdown of law and order. She establishes law and order. There is poverty. What she does is she does industrialization. She builds a textile industry. She develops businesses. So she offers actually uh, loans at a very low interest rate so that people can start new businesses. So what we call today startups, that is what she is promoting during her times. She develops businesses, uh, employment is generated, and also does agricultural reforms. And through all of this, she is making sure that her kingdom becomes prosperous. And because her kingdom becomes prosperous, the state becomes prosperous. There is more and more tax that is coming, and she can spend more on the development work. So this is what Ahilyabai is doing. So this is healing wounded civilizations. She is giving them back, um, you know, giving the self worth, self identity, and respect, dignity. The dignity of being a Hindu. She gives people that dignity. So one of the things when I started learning about Ahilyabai was I knew only one thing, that she was building temples. But then as I started reading more and more about temples, this is what came up, that a temple is not just a religious place, but a temple is serves so many purposes. It is a spiritual center where people can go and do yagya, they can do their archana, they can do their personal worship, all these things. So it is a spiritual center. It is also a cultural center because a temple offers a platform for dancers and musicians and actors and storytellers, all of them. So all these arts, they develop in the courtyards of the temple. So we have people coming to, artists coming to temple to not only to perform but also to learn, because temples were also educational centers. So all the primary schools, they were associated with temples. Dance and drama schools, music schools, they were they were a part of the temple institution. So people would students would go over there to learn all of these things. Also offers a shelter, so any person, any traveler who goes to a new place, he will always know that if I go to a temple, I'll get some food and I can rest for the night over there. So it is also offering a place of some shelter over there. And lastly, one of the most important things about temple is it is an economic center, because it provides not only employment but also livelihoods to many different types of people. So it is not just the priests who will get a livelihood out of a temple, but a temple, it requires oil. for all the lamps and everything. So a family which which produces oil is connected to the temple. Family that grows flowers is connected to the temple. So even small businesses, they grow around the temple. So all the people, devotees and pilgrims who come over there, they are going to buy from these local people. So the local economy, it is also centered around a temple, and these are all the things that a temple caters to. So when Ahilyabai is building a temple, she is not just building a religious place, but all these institutes, these are also getting rebuilt along with the temple rebuilding. So when Ahilyabai builds a temple, it is rebuilding the culture. It is a renaissance of a sort, where all these things, they start mushrooming along with the temples. And lastly, I would just like to show one work that Ahilyabai has done. So this is the Kashi Vishwanath temple. So the Kashi Vishwanath temple, this is the original temple, which was destroyed by Aurangzeb. And
We don't see your mouse cursor, so you can point it
can
out
you
in.
can you see? Can you
No,
see this?
no. So better
Okay,
you
okay, okay.
had.
Just a second. Okay. Now I think you can see.
Yes, I can see now.
So this is the original temple, which was destroyed by Aurangzeb, and this Gyanvapi Masjid was built in its place. So for almost 50, 60 years after that, there was no temple in Kashi. And Kashi is the center of Hinduism. It is considered to be the oldest place on the earth. And people coming from faraway places, they did not have a temple, they did not have a shivling to worship. That is the time when Ahilyabai, she, built a Kashi Vishwanath temple in the vicinity of this. So she bought the land and she built this small temple. So today when we are seeing this temple in Kashi, it is because of Ahilyabai. Itna jo ye chota temple hai, it is because of Ahilyabai. And it is not just over there. I'll stop sharing now. Okay. And it is not just there in Kashi, but she has built temples in Ayodhya. See, she is in central India, but the things that she is doing is she has built temples in Ayodhya. She has built temples in Mathura. She has built temples in Vrindavan. She has built temples at Somnath. All of these places where the earlier temples, they had been destroyed, she goes, she rebuilds the temple, she in a way heals a wounded civilization. She gives a closure, and by providing a closure, what she is actually doing is she opens the doors to future, where people can start living in the present and start building for tomorrow. So this is, I think, what Ahilyabai actually does through her temple rebuilding.
So one question, I think the just to realize the scope of her work,
Mhm.
right? So the stat says that she has touched at least 1,000 temples from north to south, as you're saying, and east to west,
Yes.
right? And all 12
Yes.
Shivlingas, including what you described, Kashi Vishwanath and the Somnath. Um, so
Right.
is that, I mean, the stat is correct where 1,000 plus temples she either restore or rebuilt?
Hundreds of temples, I'm sure of that. And there is no, uh, what do you say, there is no official list where we can go and say, see, these are the temples. So many temples we don't even know. When people go over there, they find, oh, there is an inscription, and they say, yes, this temple was also built by Ahilyabai. I'll tell you her footprint, kitna bada footprint hai Ahilyabai ka. She has built dharmashalas in Kedarnath. So that is northernmost. And southernmost is Anna Chhatra in Rameshwaram. So that is north south. In the east, she goes as far as Puri. So at Jagannath Puri, she has Anna Chhatra and Dharmashalas that are built. In Dwarka, she does the same. She also builds a temple. even in Somnath. And beyond this, I haven't got a reference for this, but I have heard this. I'm just waiting for that reference. She also built dharmashalas in Kabul. So it as far as that. So she had built dharmashalas in Pakistan as well. It's today's Pakistan, but at that time it was India only. So right from Kabul to Puri, from Kedarnath to Rameshwaram, Gujarat, say Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, everywhere we find her footprint, and literally thousands of works. So she has Anna Chhatra, she has built dharmashalas, she has built wells, hundreds of wells. She has built lakes, and these lakes are like, for example, the lake at Jezuri. It's a very big lake, it's in Maharashtra. It covers about 18 acres of area. So this is the kind of work we see that Ahilyabai has done.
Okay. So there are two other aspects I want you to comment on. One is her approach towards reform, social reform within Hindu
Yeah.
society,
Mhm.
and the nature aspect of it. How was there any policy she was have towards preserving nature? The way you have described the wells and lakes and stuff, definitely there was some
Yes.
policy she was following. So just answer these two-part questions.
Yes, yes, yes. So the first question is reforms, social reforms. The thing is, during the times of Ahilyabai, the society was so broken. More than reforms, it needed to, it needed confidence building. And that is the work that Ahilyabai has done. She gave people their dignity. She gave them their cultural identity. She showed that this cultural identity was a great identity. So this is her work. So in that's how what I would say about the social reform part. And the second one, the environmental work. Ahilyabai is shaped by the teachings in Itihas and Puran. So the Puranas teach that one should plant trees, one should build wells, one should build lakes, and that is the teaching which we see she implements in her life. So Ahilyabai, when she's building wells in a area which is arid. India is basically an arid country, especially the central India part. So she builds wells and lakes. She plants trees. So the tree plantation done by Ahilyabai is amazing work. It is not just that she plants trees along the roads that she has built, around the temples that she has built, around the lakes that she has built. These three types of trees, they are planted for different reasons. Along the roads, the trees that she has planted are shade giving and fruit giving trees. Around the temples, she plants the sacred trees like Audumbar and Bale, these type of trees around the temples. And around the lakes, the trees that are planted, they take care of that soil doesn't get eroded with rains and all. So it keeps the lake clean and it also saves the soil. So with these, for these different reasons, she has done tree plantation. And she doesn't stop there. She also encourages her people, her subjects to plant trees. So of she comes up with a scheme. Yeah, so we can say this is like uh, Ahilya by tree plantation scheme. And she says that, tells her farmers that they should plant 20 trees. Out of these 20 trees, those saplings will be provided by the government. And of those 20 trees, 7 trees का जो उत्पन्न होता है by selling fruits and all, that should go to the government, and the rest of them, 12 or whatever trees remain, that is what the farmer will get. So this is Satbara. So in Maharashtra, the document for the land is called as Satbara. It comes from Ahilyabai's work. So this is how she promotes even tree plantation. So this is work that she does for tree plantations, for water. Another thing that she does with water is gray water recycling. So she takes out a channel, separate channel. This work is done in Jaisuri as well as in Maheshwar on the banks of Narmada. So a separate channel is taken out, and all the work, like washing the clothes or washing the cattle, etc., it is done on that channel. So the river doesn't get dirty, it doesn't get polluted, and this water, it is taken to the farms, to the fields. So it's like gray water recycling, which we speak about today, she is doing 300, almost 300 years ago. So that is the work on water that she does. And lastly, I should also speak about animals. So she ensures that not just the cattle's, they have a separate farm where they will go and graze. Even for the birds, she will buy parts of, uh, what do you say, buy parts of fields or farms, so that the birds can go and eat the grains. They will be allowed to eat the grains over there. So she takes care of birds, animals, and every day she is doing koti lingarjan. So she is doing the puja, matlab it's her priests who do that. So they are doing the puja of thousands of small shivling which are made out of dough. And this shivling every day visarjan kiya jata hai. So when they are it becomes a food for the fish. कि जब वो नदी में बहाए जाते हैं तो it becomes food for fish. So she is taking care of even not only just people, ki it's not only annadan for people, but she is doing annadan for animals as well. So this is the kind of environmental work that Ahilyabai has done.
Yeah, I think the way you are describing it seems like a sophisticated and very thoughtful administration policy she was following.
Yeah, a welfare state, that one can say.
Absolutely.
Look.
Okay, so we are going to take some of the question, and I think we start with the first one is what inspired you to write this book or research on her? That is
Yeah.
very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, actually, what happened was I am actually a student of very ancient times. So I am a student of epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. And what happened was, elderly person. He doesn't want to be named, so I will not name him. So about 2 years ago, he told me that I should do some research on Ahilyabai. So I actually started hesitantly, because Ahilyabai is from very modern times for me, because I study only up to the 12th century. So when I started studying Ahilyabai, what I found was Ahilyabai is an extension of Ram. She is an extension of Yudhishthir. And in a way, she takes forward uh, the work of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So she is not someone who is a very different queen. She is a very traditional queen, and she is not only traditional, she is also protecting the tradition, and she's protecting the culture of India. So this, once I started seeing this, I found her charitra very interesting, because she is an she is a proof, she is an evidence which shows that the Indic civilization is a very continuous civilization for thousands of years. And Ahilyabai um, is a tall beacon of uh, that civilization, of those teachings. And so I went on to write.
Yeah, I think this labels traditional and stuff, and today we hear progressive ideas and values, right? I think they don't do justice to this, right? The way you have described those nature
Mhm.
things and how to rule the state, those fits into idea of progressive state or progressive values or thinking, right? Versus traditional way of doing things as interpreted by many, right? So looks like that's not
Yeah.
something you can
Yes.
precisely compartmentalize, right? This is progressive because he's
Mhm.
following the policy of today's progressive or
Mhm.
liberal crowd wants to believe in, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Europe, it had this concept of doctrine of divine right. So it was about kings had the divine right to rule, Raj karenge kind of. But what India spoke about is Raja Dharma. So Dharma is duties and responsibilities. So it's a very big difference in that view. So one view is right to rule, and the other view is the responsibilities of a ruler. And when we look at it as responsibilities, it tells all the things that a king has to do, which includes Putravat Prajapalan, taking care of the subjects as if they are your own children. And we find this in the Indic tradition, in the history of India. So for us, the welfare state is not something new. For us, a king taking care of his praja and ruling, for the people, it is not new. Whereas the welfare state, a concept which came from the West, or the word, I must say, this word that came from the West, it came very late, almost like, 20th century. So around the time of after the Second World War is over, then we have the West speaking about human rights against divine rights. Then we have Europe or the West speaking about welfare state. So all of these, they are like, coming up after lots of revolutions that happened in Europe, especially in 1848 and onwards, or even after the French Revolution onwards. So all of these, the thoughts that we call modern Western thoughts, these are very new, and they are still, I would say, they are still evolving. Whereas the Indian traditional thought, it is it is a much evolved, it is a much thought upon philosophy, and there is quite a lot for us to learn from it. Even today, it's very relevant even today.
So I have a three question, and I think we are running out of time. So I'll just request you to keep it brief on these three questions. So the way you have described, right? The question comes here is let me see. Yeah. Was there, when you say welfare state, right? Was there any specific treatment given to, let's say, certain religion or certain sect or certain community of people? How was her policy towards, let's say, minority in her rule?
Yeah. The thing is, Ahilyabai, or any king, if we take a look at, they do not differentiate between the subjects. The subjects are not differentiated that this person is from this particular religion or not. So it is basically a uniform civil code, I can say.
Okay, perfect. All right. So what message would Ahilyabai have for youth, today's youth? And I think you should consider this from diaspora perspective, who are facing identity struggle today.
Um, there are a couple of things. So I must really be brief about this. The first thing is Ahilyabai was shaped by her reading of epics and Puran, Itihas and Puran. So one thing that we can take from her is reading Ramayana, Mahabharat, and Bhagavad Puran in the original. So there are quite a lot of translations also available. Vivek Debroy ji ka translations hai. We have also books by Gita Press. So read the original. This is the first thing. So as to understand what, not just what Hinduism is, but it also teaches us how to live. These are our guides that tell us how to navigate through life. So that is one thing. Second thing is, implementing what we learn. Like, for example, when Ahilyabai is reading all of these things, she is also implementing them in her life. Like, uh, I'll tell just one very small thing. She gets up at Brahma Muhurta. So, the 5 a.m. club that is called nowadays. Yes, so, these are the small things that can be implemented in our life, and we will start seeing at least progress for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
as you said, finding uh, एक आइडेंटिटी का क्राइसिस जो होता है, it will surely help in answering that.
This is another interesting question. If Ahilyabai were alive today, what issues do you think she would care deeply about? So it's a 300 years, and you can say
Yes.
250 or so since 200, less than 250 since she's no more in her body. So what would have her thinking in today's scenario?
Today, I think she would have probably again started Sanskrit Pathashalas,
Mhm.
so that we get access to the Indian knowledge system. We get access to it's a very precious knowledge is precious, right? Knowledge is money. So we could get access to that. I think that would be the first thing that Ahilyabai would do in today's life. Basically, learning Indian knowledge systems.
Yeah, so basically building within from you the value system within the individual, and then they act out based on that value systems the way, right?
Yes.
The last question I have is her contribution towards supporting thinkers, astronomy, math, and the textile micro industry for women. And yeah, I think this is multi-part questions you can take.
So contributions to all of these.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that Ahilyabai does is she starts inviting learned people to Maheshwar, and she gives them what do you say, funds. So I wouldn't call it scholarship, but it is something like that. Um, she is enabling the scholars and intellectuals to go to Kashi or to go wherever they have to further their studies. So this is one thing. She also invites Vaidya, so that is Ayurvedic doctors, Ayurvedic practitioners to Maheshwar, and उनका सत्कार करते हैं. तो ये भी, like, it is ensuring that uh, intellectual people come to Maheshwar. It becomes a hub for intellectual people. It becomes a hub for, like, place where people can come and learn. So that is what she does for. mm, what else was the question included?
Yeah, so I think
For
the
textile industry.
science and textile, right?
Yeah,
Science, astronomy and
textile.
math and science. The
Yeah.
silk.
So when she's starting all these pathshalas, she's basically starting the schools where astronomy and mathematics is being taught. She is also helping people to, like, go and learn further in Kashi and wherever else. And the textile industries, she established this industry. She called weavers from all over India, uh, so that they could settle over there. So she set up colonies for them, so they could come over there, they could settle there with their families, and then start this Maheshwari textile industry. Another thing that she did was she employed widows of soldiers in this industry. So she is doing so many things. Matlab, eh, on one side we see that she is creating an industry, she's generating employment, she is also taking care of widows, she is also ensuring that this is Indian weaving industry, and it is a very prosperous industry. So she is ensuring that even the people become prosperous. So there's so many things that she is doing just through one of her endeavors.
Sure. And I think someone is asking where we can learn more about her life story. Absolutely. You can definitely, we have given the link of your book and we have read ourselves. It is very accessible for kids. You can refer. I think 13 plus we are recommending. So, and we have given out the link as well on our webinar page where you can go on Amazon link and buy the book. And okay, I think keep saying this last question, but this is also interesting one. What places should we visit with our children in Bharat to learn about her story?
One place one must visit is Maheshwar. Maheshwar is where she lived as the queen. And what we see over there is her house and her court. It's so simple. So here we have a queen who is building, great, magnificent temples. Here is a queen who is building a textile industry, but she herself lives in a very simple house and she clads herself in a very simple white sari.
So
So
you won't find a palace.
simply,
Yes, you won't find palace there.
yeah,
She's
no palace, no palace, a very simple
that's
house.
right.
So Maheshwar is one place, another place is Somnath, the third place is Kashi, and the fourth place is her birthplace, which is Chaundi. So these are the four places that you can visit if you want
All
to know
right, we
more
can
about.
keep going on this. I think we'll stop here. And Dhanyawad everyone for joining. And Dhanyawad Dipali ji for explaining this from the start to beginning, the context, giving its context and going through all the journey. And we'll host you some other day to answer more questions. And because this looks like a more interesting personality than someone can just fit in a clean box, and there are many aspects of it. So we will end here, and namaste and good night for
Many thanks to Hindu Parenting Network and all the parents and children probably who have joined and listening to me. Many thanks.
you.